Take a slow breath, deep and easy. Feel the air filling your lungs, invisible, yet alive. Every breath you take connects you to the entire planet, the wind that once passed over oceans, through forests, across mountains and back again. This is where our story begins, not with thunder or lightning, not with storms or seasons, but with the simple, silent truth that Earth breathes, and we breathe with it. The sky above may seem empty, but it is not. It is a vast, delicate ocean of air that moves and stirs endlessly in motion, forever seeking balance. Every cloud, every breeze, every drop of rain is a ripple in this sea, an expression of the planet's living energy. Though we cannot see its boundaries, the atmosphere wraps around us like a thin, fragile veil, holding in warmth, carrying sound, and protecting all life from the harsh cold of space. Weather is not chaos, it is balance in motion. It is the Earth's way of redistributing heat, light, and moisture, so that no corner of the planet remains untouched by its rhythm. From the quiet stillness of dawn mist to the roar of a summer storm, every moment of weather is connected by the same invisible threads: temperature, pressure, and gravity, performing an ancient dance. The patterns we call forecast or climate are simply chapters of this ongoing story, written in air and light. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine looking down upon the planet from above. You see bands of white clouds swirling across a sphere of blue and green. You see storm systems stretching thousands of miles, spinning gently in the currents of the upper air. Beneath them, deserts shimmer with heat, while polar ice reflects the light back into space. From that distance, weather is not something separate. It is the skin of Earth itself, alive and breathing. The air that surrounds us has a long memory. It has carried volcanic ash from ancient eruptions, pollen from the first flowering plants, and salt from evaporated seas. Some of the molecules you breathe tonight once drifted through the lungs of dinosaurs or circled through the Arctic wind thousands of years ago. The atmosphere is a storyteller holding the breath of history within it. Each particle, a tiny fragment of time, passing endlessly from life to life. Weather begins with sunlight. Every morning, as the sun's rays strike the curved surface of the planet, they deliver energy that sets everything in motion. Warm air rises, cool air sinks. The oceans absorb heat and release moisture. The continents radiate warmth back into space. The balance shifts constantly, never perfect, never still. This imbalance is what creates motion, and motion creates life. Without it, the world would be silent and frozen. Imagine standing at sunrise, feeling the first touch of warmth on your face. The same light that paints the clouds in shades of gold and rose is also awakening invisible currents above you. Air begins to rise and expand, reaching thousands of feet high, pulling in cooler air from elsewhere to fill the space left behind. These gentle differences, just a few degrees of heat, are what give rise to wind clouds and rain. From simplicity, complexity emerges. At the surface, we live inside the densest part of this ocean of air. Here, nitrogen and oxygen make up almost everything. We breathe with small traces of other gases: carbon dioxide, argon, water vapor, and ozone shaping temperature and weather in ways that seem almost magical. Without them, life could not exist. Too much carbon dioxide, and the world overheats. Too little, and we freeze. Every molecule plays its part. Every fraction of the atmosphere contributes to the delicate balance we call climate. When early humans first looked up and wondered about the clouds, they saw shapes, omens, and moods of the sky. Over time, those observations became science. They noticed that certain winds brought rain, that high clouds foretold storms, that halos around the moon meant moisture in the upper air. Long before satellites or weather models, people learned to read the sky as one might read a language written in motion. Even now, though, our technology is vast. That instinct remains a deep awareness that the sky is alive. The atmosphere does not end sharply. It fades, gradually thinning, until the last traces of air blend into the black silence of space. If you were to travel upward through the clouds past the region where planes fly beyond, where the auroras shimmer, you would find no line, no border. Just air growing lighter, quieter, colder, until one day it becomes nothing at all. And yet that fragile veil, only a few hundred miles thick, protects everything we know. It holds in warmth, filters sunlight, and shields us from deadly radiation. Without the atmosphere, Earth would be lifeless, an icy, barren rock, bathed in sunlight too harsh to endure. With it, we have wind and rain, seasons and song, warmth and breath. The air is our unseen guardian, our oldest companion, and our most precious gift. So tonight, as you listen and breathe, remember every sigh of wind, every whisper of breeze against your window is the planet speaking. It tells a story of balance and movement of life, intertwined with the physics of air. And though we often think of weather as something that happens to us, it is something we are part of every breath we take, completing the circle of the sky. As the narration fades, the sound of wind drifts softly in the background, mingled with the steady rhythm of distant waves. The atmosphere exhales, the world cools into twilight, and the first stars begin to emerge beyond the thinning blue. Above you, the great ocean of air stretches upward, layer upon layer, vast, weightless, alive. And soon, we will begin our ascent through it, exploring its hidden structure, its quiet layers, and the invisible boundaries that hold the world together. And within that breath of air, unseen currents begin to stir, gentle movements that shape the sky above us. Above us stretches an invisible ocean, not of water, but of air. It is vast and weightless, yet it holds the entire world in its gentle embrace. We walk through it, breathe it, and live within it every moment of our lives. It is so familiar that we forget it exists at all. And yet, if this ocean were to vanish for even a breath, the world would fall silent. No sound, no wind, no life. The air around Earth does not stand still. It flows, ripples, and swirls like a sea. It presses down upon us with quiet strength, about 15 pounds on every square inch of skin, though we rarely notice its touch. This pressure, steady and unseen, holds together the delicate balance of life below. It is the atmosphere that gives our planet its colors, its weather, and its voice. Imagine this ocean as a stack of transparent layers, each one thinner, colder, and stranger than the last. We live at the bottom in the troposphere, a zone only about 7 miles high, where nearly all weather unfolds. Here, clouds grow, winds shift, and rain begins its fall. The troposphere is dense with oxygen, nitrogen, and the gentle mix of gases that cradle every living thing. It is where birds glide, storms roll, and the familiar sky stretches above us. As we rise beyond the troposphere, the air cools and thins until we reach a region called the tropopause, a quiet boundary where weather ends and stillness begins. Beyond it lies the stratosphere, a calm and steady layer that extends for about 20 miles. In this serene space, jet streams whisper at the edges, and the ozone layer spreads like an unseen shield, filtering the sun's ultraviolet rays and protecting life below. Without it, the surface of Earth would be scorched by radiation far too harsh for survival. Higher still lies the mesosphere, a realm of icy air and meteor fire. Here, shooting stars flash as fragments of rock and dust collide with the atmosphere, burning brightly for just a heartbeat before dissolving. Temperatures here can drop to far below zero, the coldest region of the sky. Though few have ever reached it, the mesosphere is a place of silent spectacle, where air becomes thin enough for stars to seem closer, yet thick enough to catch their falling light. Above that, the thermosphere unfolds a region both searing and serene. Here, atoms absorb the full force of the sun's energy, and temperatures can rise to more than 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Yet the air is so thin that it would feel cold to the touch. It is in this high domain that auroras dance, ribbons of color born from solar winds colliding with Earth's magnetic field. Green and violet light shimmer and pulse across the poles, a luminous ballet that connects space to sky. And beyond even that lies the exosphere, the final ghost-like breath of Earth's air. Molecules here drift so far apart that they can travel hundreds of miles before meeting another. The boundary fades not into another layer, but into the vast emptiness of space. Satellites orbit quietly here, riding the edge of atmosphere and infinity. When viewed as a whole, the atmosphere seems impossibly thin. If Earth were the size of a basketball, the atmosphere would be no thicker than the skin of a peach. And yet within that narrow shell, every cloud, every gust of wind, every flicker of lightning exists. It is a fragile masterpiece, a membrane of life in an endless void. The air itself is made of simple ingredients, about 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and a delicate balance of trace gases, argon, carbon dioxide, neon helium, and methane among them. Water vapor weaves through it all, shaping humidity clouds and the comfort of our days. Together, these gases create a perfect blend for breathing fire and growth. Even a small shift in that balance would change everything. Each layer of this ocean has its purpose. The troposphere keeps the surface alive with motion and weather. The stratosphere shields us from radiation. The mesosphere burns away cosmic debris. The thermosphere connects us to the sun's energy. And the exosphere offers passage to the stars. It is a chain of guardians, each one maintaining a part of the balance that allows Earth to breathe. As scientists learned to climb higher, first with balloons, then with rockets, they discovered that the sky is not empty, but structured each region, whispering a different truth about the planet. The air thins, the temperature shifts, the composition changes, yet everything is connected. A thunderstorm born at the surface can send ripples upward that touch the edge of space. A solar flare from the sun can send energy downward that dances in our northern skies. The system is whole. It breathes as one. Now imagine you are rising through this invisible sea. You pass through the troposphere, watching cities and forests shrink below. The air cools and brightens. Clouds stretch into long veils beneath you, glowing gold from the setting sunday. Higher, still the sky deepens to indigo. The curve of Earth becomes visible. And at last, silence. The stillness of thin air, the faint hum of energy where space begins. Every second, billions of molecules swirl and mix in this unseen world. They carry scent, sound, heat, and life itself. They drift from one hemisphere to another, from oceans to deserts, from the Arctic to the equator, completing a timeless circulation. The air we breathe tonight may one day rest over another continent or rise into the cold upper sky before returning as gentle rain. This is the ocean we live within, transparent, eternal, and alive. It is both our cradle and our mirror, reflecting the fragility of life and the endless resilience of the planet. As we look upward through these layers, we begin to see that the atmosphere is not just a space above us, but a bridge connecting Earth to the cosmos, light to life, motion to meaning. And so we turn now to the great source of all this motion, the sun itself, the endless heart of warmth that drives the breath of the world. But it is the sunlight, not the layers alone, that sets these invisible tides into motion. Above us stretches an invisible ocean, not of water, but of air. It is vast and weightless, yet it holds the entire world in its gentle embrace. We walk through it, breathe it, and live within it every moment of our lives. It is so familiar that we forget it exists at all. And yet, if this ocean were to vanish for even a breath, the world would fall silent. No sound, no wind, no life. The air around Earth does not stand still. It flows ripples and swirls like a sea. It presses down upon us with quiet strength, about 15 pounds on every square inch of skin, though we rarely notice its touch. This pressure, steady and unseen, holds together the delicate balance of life below. It is the atmosphere that gives our planet its colors, its weather, and its voice. Imagine this ocean as a stack of transparent layers, each one thinner, colder, and stranger than the last. We live at the bottom in the troposphere, a zone only about 7 miles high where nearly all weather unfolds. Here, clouds grow, winds shift, and rain begins its fall. The troposphere is dense with oxygen, nitrogen, and the gentle mix of gases that cradle every living thing. It is where birds glide, storms roll, and the familiar sky stretches above us. As we rise beyond the troposphere, the air cools and thins until we reach a region called the tropopause, a quiet boundary where weather ends and stillness begins. Beyond it lies the stratosphere, a calm and steady layer that extends for about 20 miles. In this serene space, jet streams whisper at the edges, and the ozone layer spreads like an unseen shield, filtering the sun's ultraviolet rays and protecting life below. Without it, the surface of Earth would be scorched by radiation far too harsh for survival. Higher still lies the mesosphere, a realm of icy air and meteor fire. Here, shooting stars flash as fragments of rock and dust collide with the atmosphere, burning brightly for just a heartbeat before dissolving. Temperatures here can drop to far below zero, the coldest region of the sky. Though few have ever reached it, the mesosphere is a place of silent spectacle where air becomes thin enough for stars to seem closer, yet thick enough to catch their falling light. Above that, the thermosphere unfolds a region both searing and serene. Here, atoms absorb the full force of the sun's energy, and temperatures can rise to more than 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Yet the air is so thin that it would feel cold to the touch. It is in this high domain that auroras dance ribbons of color born from solar winds colliding with Earth's magnetic field. Green and violet light shimmer and pulse across the poles, a luminous ballet that connects space to sky. And beyond even that lies the exosphere, the final ghost-like breath of Earth's air. Molecules here drift so far apart that they can travel hundreds of miles before meeting another. The boundary fades not into another layer, but into the vast emptiness of space. Satellites orbit quietly here, riding the edge of atmosphere and infinity. When viewed as a whole, the atmosphere seems impossibly thin. If Earth were the size of a basketball, the atmosphere would be no thicker than the skin of a peach. And yet, within that narrow shell, every cloud, every gust of wind, every flicker of lightning exists. It is a fragile masterpiece, a membrane of life in an endless void. The air itself is made of simple ingredients, about 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and a delicate balance of trace gases: argon, carbon dioxide, neon helium, and methane among them. Water vapor weaves through it all, shaping humidity clouds and the comfort of our days. Together, these gases create a perfect blend for breathing fire and growth. Even a small shift in that balance would change everything. Each layer of this ocean has its purpose. The troposphere keeps the surface alive with motion and weather. The stratosphere shields us from radiation. The mesosphere burns away cosmic debris. The thermosphere connects us to the sun's energy, and the exosphere offers passage to the stars. It is a chain of guardians, each one maintaining a part of the balance that allows Earth to breathe. As scientists learned to climb higher, first with balloons, then with rockets, they discovered that the sky is not empty, but structured each region, whispering a different truth about the planet. The air thins, the temperature shifts, the composition changes, yet everything is connected. A thunderstorm born at the surface can send ripples upward that touch the edge of space. A solar flare from the sun can send energy downward that dances in our northern skies. The system is whole. It breathes as one. Now imagine you are rising through this invisible sea. You pass through the troposphere, watching cities and forests shrink below. The air cools and brightens. Clouds stretch into long veils beneath you, glowing gold from the setting sunday. Higher still, the sky deepens to indigo. The curve of Earth becomes visible, and at last, silence, the stillness of thin air, the faint hum of energy, where space begins. Every second, billions of molecules swirl and mix in this unseen world. They carry scent, sound, heat, and life itself. They drift from one hemisphere to another, from oceans to deserts, from the Arctic to the equator, completing a timeless circulation. The air we breathe tonight may one day rest over another continent, or rise into the cold upper sky, before returning as gentle rain. This is the ocean we live within, transparent, eternal, and alive. It is both our cradle and our mirror, reflecting the fragility of life and the endless resilience of the planet. As we look upward through these layers, we begin to see that the atmosphere is not just a space above us, but a bridge connecting Earth to the cosmos, light to life, motion to meaning. And so we turn now to the great source of all this motion, the sun itself, the endless heart of warmth that drives the breath of the world. But it is the sunlight, not the layers alone, that sets these invisible tides into motion. Every story of weather begins and ends with light. The sun, suspended nearly 93 million miles away, is not just a distant star. It is the steady heartbeat of our world. Every gust of wind, every rolling cloud, every shimmer of heat on the horizon begins as sunlight striking Earth. It is the spark that turns stillness into motion. Each dawn, as the first rays stretch across the curve of the planet, the surface begins to stir. The sun does not heat Earth evenly. Near the equator, the light strikes more directly, warming the ground and oceans intensely. Near the poles, the same light arrives at a slant, its energy spread thin across distance and atmosphere. This uneven heating sets everything in motion. Warm air, lighter and buoyant, rises. Cool air, denser and heavier, sinks to take its place. And from that simple imbalance, the winds are born, the planet's breath made visible. Air moves because it seeks equilibrium, always trying to balance differences in temperature. and pressure. These differences are small, sometimes only a few degrees Fahrenheit, yet they shape the world. Where heat gathers, air expands and pressure falls. Where air cools, it contracts and pressure rises. Nature does not tolerate imbalance for long. Air flows from high pressure to low in an endless attempt to even the scales. The result is the ceaseless wind, carrying with it the whispers of changing skies. But this movement would be simple, almost predictable, were Earth still. Instead, the planet turns one full revolution every 24 hours, and that turning bends the path of the wind. This invisible twist is known as the Coriolis effect, a graceful force born of rotation. In the northern hemisphere, air curves to the right, in the southern to the left. Together, these deflections carve vast spirals across the globe. Hurricanes, cyclones, trade winds, and jet streams all owe their motion to this elegant turning. Imagine looking down from space. Around the equator, warm air rises and flows poleward before cooling and sinking near the subtropics. This forms giant loops of motion called Hadley cells. Farther north and south, feral and polar cells complete the pattern, 3 great belts of circulation in each hemisphere, weaving energy from tropics to poles and back again. These cells are not static, but breathing, expanding, and contracting with the seasons as Earth leans gently toward and away from the Sunday. As the world spins beneath its star, another rhythm emerges, the dance of day and night. During the day, land heats quickly, while oceans warm more slowly. At night, that pattern reverses. These daily temperature shifts create smaller winds, sea breezes that sweep inland under the morning sun, and land breezes that drift back toward the ocean after dark. Each one is part of the same breath, exhaling and inhaling across time and tide. Even deep in the upper atmosphere, the influence of sunlight can be seen. At altitudes where jets fly around 6 to 9 miles above the surface, narrow bands of wind called jet streams race across the globe at hundreds of miles per hour. They form where cold and warm air masses meet, acting as invisible rivers in the sky. These high-altitude winds guide storms, influence weather patterns, and connect continents in their quiet, unseen flow. Heat does more than move air. It powers life. The warmth that fuels storms also drives photosynthesis, the process by which plants capture light and transform it into energy. Sunlight enters a leaf and within moments becomes food growth and breath. The same photons that stir winds also ignite life itself. Without that daily gift, the planet would fall into darkness and stillness. Yet the sun's generosity is balanced by restraint. For every ray absorbed, some is reflected by clouds, ice, and the pale blues of atmosphere. This reflection, known as albedo, helps maintain the planet's temperature. Snow and desert sands reflect much of the sun's glare, while oceans and forests absorb it deeply. Even a small change in this balance, a few % more reflection or absorption, can shift climate over centuries. It is a system both powerful and fragile, like the thin shell of glass around a flame. Through seasons, the Earth tilts, gently changing how sunlight falls across its surface. This tilt, about 23.5 degrees, is what gives us spring and fall, summer and winter. When one hemisphere leans toward the sun, it bathes in warmth and long days. The other turns away, resting in cool shadow. This steady oscillation defines the pulse of the planet's year, a cosmic pendulum of light and time. And yet, even as the sun drives the great machinery of weather, its touch is not constant. Solar activity rises and falls over 11-year cycles, sometimes flaring, sometimes quieting. When the sun erupts with solar storms, charged particles stream toward Earth, stirring the upper atmosphere and painting auroras across polar skies. The heavens themselves shimmer with the same energy that stirs the winds below. Every breeze, every cloud, every drop of rain is a consequence of light finding balance. The warmth that rises from the soil today may become a gust of wind tomorrow, a storm next week, and a snowfall months later. The sun's energy is never lost, only transformed, passed along through air and water in an endless cycle of renewal. If the atmosphere is the body of weather, then sunlight is its heartbeat, steady, eternal, and full of grace. Each ray that touches Earth is a breath of life, a silent messenger, carrying warmth across 93 million miles of emptiness. Now, as we look up through that bright air and feel the soft touch of warmth on our skin, we understand motion is born from imbalance, and balance is born from motion. This delicate paradox is what keeps the world alive, and as the planet turns beneath that golden light, something else begins to rise. Vapor lifting from oceans and rivers gathering into clouds that drift like dreams across the sky. The sun exhales, and the water begins to move. Everything alive on Earth depends on a single, endless rhythm, the cycle of water. It is the pulse that never stops, the quiet circulation that nourishes every forest, every ocean, every breath. While sunlight breathes motion into air, it also lifts the world's water into the sky, shaping clouds, storms, and the steady flow of rivers that return it home. Each droplet begins as vapor, invisible, weightless, carried upward by warmth. As the sun's energy touches oceans, lakes, and soil, water evaporates and rises, leaving behind the salt of seas and the scent of rain yet to come. Over open water, the surface seems to shimmer with light. But what we're really seeing is transformation. Liquid becoming air. The beginning of a journey that may travel thousands of miles before it falls again. As this moisture ascends, the air grows cooler and the invisible becomes visible. Water vapor condenses around tiny particles of dust, pollen, and salt, the seeds of clouds. Millions of these microscopic droplets gather together, floating as mist, soft and white. Their combined presence painting the sky. When the droplets collide and merge, they grow heavy enough to fall, beginning their descent as rain, snow, or hail. In the lowest layer of the atmosphere where we live and breathe, clouds take on countless forms. The great cotton towers of cumulus clouds rise on warm air like mountains in the sky, their tops glowing with sunlight, while their bases rumble with shadow. Cirrus clouds, thin and wispy, stretch like silver hair across the upper air, whispering of winds high above. Stratus clouds move low and wide, wrapping the horizon in gray, quieting the landscape beneath. Each formation speaks its own language, a message from the air about the balance of heat and moisture. When the air below a cloud cools enough, droplets begin to merge and fall, breaking free as rain. The sound of rain is the sound of connection. Sky returning to earth, sky nourishing life. Some raindrops fall, softly absorbed by soil and roots. Others strike hard surfaces, scattering into tiny explosions of water and light. In colder air, the same droplets freeze, forming intricate snowflakes, each one unique, symmetrical, a perfect geometry of ice and air. If the temperatures shift, sleet or freezing rain may form, encasing branches in a glimmering shell of glass. Beneath the ground, the story continues. Rain seeps into soil, feeding aquifers, rising again through springs and streams that wind their way back to the sea. Every droplet that falls completes its part in a cycle older than life itself. A closed loop, powered entirely by the sunday. What falls from the clouds will one day rise again, caught in the same invisible rhythm. On humid days, when the air is heavy and warm, you can feel this cycle in your lungs. The atmosphere thick with water, every breath carrying the faint weight of vapor. At dawn, dew forms on blades of grass and spiderwebs, droplets beading like jewels in the morning light. Each one is a memory of air meeting cold ground of moisture, resting briefly before returning to the wind. Even within storms, this balance holds. Thunderclouds are the engines of the water cycle, towering miles into the sky. Within them, updrafts lift moisture higher and higher until it freezes into hailstones, then falls and rises again, each time growing larger. Lightning flashes, thunder rolls, and the storm releases its gathered weight, restoring balance to the sky. All of it, from the mist on a leaf to the monsoon that sweeps across continents, is part of the same circulation. The atmosphere does not waste, it only moves. The same molecules that rained upon ancient mountains now fall on modern cities. The same water that once cooled dinosaurs still fills our oceans today. It is the continuity of existence, an unbroken thread of motion and transformation. Over oceans, the cycle intensifies. Warm surface waters evaporate under tropical suns, feeding vast clouds that drift for thousands of miles before releasing rain on distant lands. This transport of water is the reason deserts bloom and rivers rise. It connects every ecosystem on Earth, binding mountains to seas, forests to plains. In polar regions, water takes on another role. It becomes memory. Locked in glaciers and ice sheets, ancient snow holds air bubbles that record the atmosphere of ages past. Scientists studying ice cores can read the climate story, tracing each layer of frozen time back hundreds of thousands of years. Within the stillness of ice, the pulse of water slows, but never stops. Even glaciers flow inch by inch toward the sea. When viewed from space, the water cycle reveals itself as living art clouds, blooming and fading across the blue sphere, rivers flashing like veins beneath the atmosphere. Each pattern of motion mirrors the next, like the heartbeat of a breathing world. The balance is perfect yet delicate. Too much heat and droughts emerge. Too little and ice tightens its grip. And still, through all of it, the cycle endures. Rain falls, streams run, oceans rise and breathe vapor back into the air. Water is patient. It waits for centuries inside rocks, then bursts free as a spring. It climbs mountains, crosses deserts and drifts, through clouds always returning to the same embrace. If you stand quietly after rain, you can feel the sky exhale, the air lighter, the earth refreshed. The scent that rises, called petrichor, is the fragrance of renewal oils released by plants and soil, awakened by water's touch. It is the earth speaking softly, reminding us that even the smallest storm is part of something vast. The water cycle is not just a system, it is the planet's pulse, a rhythm so complete, so ancient, that life itself was shaped by its continuity. Every heartbeat, every breath, every leaf and tide echoes this motion. And as the sun warms the seas once more, as vapor rises invisibly into the waiting air, we turn our eyes to the sky, to the towering clouds that hold energy and mystery. Soon we will see what happens when the calm cycle becomes electric, when the atmosphere itself begins to spark with light. But sometimes the pulse quickens and the calm sky turns restless. The air grows heavy, the horizon darkens. Somewhere far away, a single roll of thunder begins its long, trembling echo across the sky. The peaceful balance of sunlight and vapor starts to shift energy, gathering unseen within rising towers of air. What begins as warmth and moisture soon transforms into one of nature's most astonishing displays of power, the thunderstorm, the living engine of the sky. Every storm starts in the same way, with heat rising. As sunlight warms the ground, the air closest to the surface grows lighter and begins to ascend. This rising air carries with it invisible water vapor. As it climbs, the air cools and the vapor condenses into clouds. If the air above is cold enough and the rising air below is strong enough, a towering column begins to form. Within hours, it can reach heights of more than 50,000 feet, a mountain of air and water stretching nearly 10 miles high into the sky. This immense column is called a cumulonimbus cloud, the thunderhead. It is a world of motion within itself. Inside, warm air continues to rise, while cooled air sinks in great downdrafts. These opposite currents twist and churn, creating turbulence strong enough to lift hailstones, toss them skyward, and drop them again and again, until they grow heavy enough to fall to the ground. Lightning, the most dramatic voice of this storm, is born from the storm's constant collisions. As ice crystals and droplets crash within the cloud, they exchange electrical charges. The lighter, positively charged particles rise to the top, while the heavier, negatively charged ones sink to the bottom. Over time, this separation creates enormous tension, a potential energy so vast that the atmosphere itself begins to tremble, and then, in a fraction of a second, the air can no longer contain it. A bolt of lightning leaps through the sky, finding the shortest path between charge and ground. The air along its path heats to over 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit, hotter than the surface of the sun, expanding so suddenly that it creates the sound we call thunder. That sharp crack or low rumble is the atmosphere speaking the echo of energy released back into balance. For a brief moment, the world becomes light and sound fire and breath. Yet even within this spectacle, there is order, an elegant physics at play. Lightning takes many forms, from the familiar forked bolts that strike the ground to sheet lightning hidden behind clouds, illuminating them from within. Like a lantern, there are rarer kinds too. Sprites and blue jets that burst high above the storm, flashing into the upper atmosphere like celestial brushstrokes connecting the Earth's storms with the edge of space. Every thunderstorm follows a rhythm. It begins with the growth of the updraft, matures into a towering column, and then collapses as rain cools the air below. Most storms live less than an hour. Yet during that brief life, they move immense amounts of heat and moisture from the surface into the upper atmosphere. In doing so, they help the planet breathe, transporting energy, restoring equilibrium, renewing the balance that sunlight first disturbed. To those who watch from below, a storm can seem both terrifying and beautiful. The air turns electric, the scent of ozone rises, the world glows with silver and shadow. But within that power lies purpose. Thunderstorms feed rivers, recharge aquifers, and clean the air with rain. They scrub the sky of dust, and pollen return nitrogen to the soil and cool the ground after long days of heat. Even the lightning that splits the sky plays its part, forging molecules that later nourish life. From space, a thunderstorm appears like a blossoming flower of white, pulsing with light. Thousands bloom across the planet every day, most unseen, some vast enough to cover entire regions. The tropics, where heat and moisture are abundant, serve as their cradle, but they can appear anywhere warmth and water meet. Each storm is a brief conversation between earth and sky, an exchange of energy and calm. Inside a storm, the physics becomes poetry. Water rises, cools, freezes, falls, and rises again, a loop of transformation repeated thousands of times each minute. Lightning stitches the layers together, a luminous thread of connection between heaven and earth. The sound of thunder is the punctuation, a deep breath released after tension finally breaks. And then, as quickly as it came, the storm begins to fade. The updrafts weaken the air, cools, and rain falls softly in its wake. The clouds, once towering and fierce, dissolve into pale wisps against the evening sky. The air feels washed and new. The world breathes again. There is calm after every storm, but the balance never lasts for long. The same forces that build a thunderhead can, under the right conditions, spiral into something even more powerful. A whirling vortex of wind and energy. A storm with a center of terrifying grace. From these great engines of the atmosphere are born the rotating tempests that sweep across oceans and plains alike. Tornadoes twisting through open fields. Hurricanes spinning across endless seas. Both share the same origin, the quest of the planet to move heat, to balance warmth, and cold to breathe. The thunderstorm is not destruction. It is the Earth's exhale, its brief but necessary moment of release. It clears the air, restores motion, and resets the balance of the world. So as the sky darkens and light flashes once more across the horizon, remember, every storm is part of a greater calm. Every spark of lightning is the planet remembering how to breathe. The sky, once calm now, begins to turn. The air thickens with energy invisible yet alive, drawn into motion so powerful that it shapes the very clouds into spirals. The forces that began as warmth and rising air now twist upon themselves, folding order out of chaos. What was once a drifting cloud becomes a vortex, elegant, immense, and unstoppable. Tornadoes and hurricanes, though vastly different in scale, are born of the same necessity, the planet's endless attempt to balance heat. They are nature's engines of redistribution, transferring energy from where it gathers to where it is needed, restoring the equilibrium of the atmosphere through breathtaking violence and grace. Let us begin with the smallest and swiftest, the tornado. A column of wind so intense it can lift entire houses from their foundations. It begins quietly hidden inside a great thunderstorm known as a supercell. Within that storm, warm, moist air rises from the surface, while cooler, drier air descends from above. As the two layers slide past one another, wind shear, a difference in wind speed or direction with height, creates invisible tubes of spinning air. If the conditions align just right, an updraft tilts one of these tubes upright, spinning faster and faster as it narrows. A mesocyclone is born, a rotating tower within the storm. Within minutes, the rotation tightens, condensing into a visible funnel as pressure drops inside. Dust and debris are drawn upward, giving the tornado its familiar shape. From the cloud to the ground, a whirling column connects heaven and earth in a moment of fierce beauty. At its most powerful, winds inside a tornado can exceed 200 miles per hour. The scale we use to measure their strength, the enhanced Fujita scale, classifies them from EF0, barely enough to lift loose branches, to EF5, capable of scouring pavement from the ground. Most last only a few minutes, carving narrow paths across fields before dissolving back into rain. But for those brief moments, they reveal the incredible energy contained within air itself. Despite their intensity, tornadoes are fragile creations. A small change in temperature or wind direction can unravel them instantly. They are the atmosphere's brief exhalations, sudden, dramatic, but fleeting. And though they can cause devastation, they are not agents of chaos. They are by-products of balance, short-lived corrections in the atmosphere's great equation. Now imagine that same principle on an immense scale, not miles wide, but hundreds. Not minutes, but days or weeks. A tropical storm forming over a warm sea is the same pattern written: large, warm, moist air rises, Surrounding air rushes in to replace it. Rotation begins as the Coriolis effect bends the flow. Slowly, a vast spiral of clouds takes shape: a hurricane, a cyclone, a typhoon, depending on the ocean it calls home. In the center of that storm lies the eye, a calm circular region where the air sinks instead of rises. While the winds outside may rage at over 150 miles per hour, inside the eye there is stillness. The sun may even shine, casting light upon a wall of clouds that towers higher than Mount Everest. This contrast, tranquility, at the center of fury, is one of the most haunting and beautiful phenomena in all of nature. Around the eye spins the eye wall, where the storm's power is greatest. Here, heat drawn from the ocean's surface is released high in the atmosphere, driving convection that fuels the storm's rotation. The process feeds on itself. Warm water evaporates, rises, condenses, and releases heat, which causes more air to rise. As long as the ocean below remains warm enough, the storm will grow stronger, its winds tightening into a perfect spiral of motion and energy. Eventually, the storm moves over cooler waters or land, and its engine begins to fade. Without the ocean's warmth to sustain it, the system unravels. Winds weaken, rain spreads, and the storm dissolves into low clouds and drizzle. Even in its decay, it redistributes water and energy, feeding rivers and forests, shaping coastlines, and seeding the next cycle of renewal. From above, a hurricane resembles a living mandala, a pattern so symmetrical that it seems almost designed. Satellite imagery shows the perfection of its spiral, the soft curvature of arms sweeping outward like brushstrokes on a vast canvas. And yet, it is simply physics, the conservation of angular momentum, the Coriolis effect, the steady hand of heat seeking balance. Across the world, these storms go by many names: hurricanes in the Atlantic, typhoons in the Pacific, cyclones in the Indian Ocean. But their nature is one. They are the breath of the planet, drawn in slow, majestic circles over the sea. They remind us that even destruction can be part of creation, that what appears violent may also be necessary, an expression of the Earth's living balance. For centuries, humans have watched these spirals from afar, awe and fear entwined. Sailors in the age of exploration learned to read the wind, to sense pressure in their bones, and smell approaching storms on the air. Today, satellites watch from orbit, tracking the slow spin of clouds across oceans, measuring their pressure, speed, and heat. Our understanding has deepened, but our reverence remains. Even in chaos, there is order. Every spiral, every gust, every raindrop, released from a hurricane's arms, follows rules written into the fabric of air and light. Tornadoes and hurricanes, for all their fury, are not anomalies. They are the purest form of atmospheric balance energy, seeking stillness. And as the last winds fade, as clouds drift apart, and sunlight returns to the quiet sea, we are reminded that the same air that raged in storms also cradles us in calm. The breath of earth moves through all things, sometimes fierce, sometimes tender, but always purposeful. In the silence after the storm, only the wind remains soft, steady, and alive. It carries the scent of salt and rain whispering across continents, shaping dunes, turning leaves. The story of air does not end with violence. It continues in the gentlest of motions, in the invisible threads that bind every moment of weather together. When the winds quiet again, the air begins to whisper, telling stories of direction and change. When the storms have passed and the air begins to steady, the atmosphere does not fall silent. It hums softly, constantly, the whisper of motion that circles the planet without end. The wind is never still for long. It flows around mountains, slides across deserts, curls through valleys and sweeps the surface of the oceans. It speaks a universal language, one that has shaped the planet's weather, its life, and even its stories since time began. The wind begins always, with imbalance, a difference in temperature or pressure. Warm air rises, cool air descends, and nature seeks equilibrium once more. But as Earth spins beneath the sun's steady gaze, these gentle differences grow into vast patterns. Across the equator, air heated by the sun rises and moves poleward, replaced by cooler air, flowing in from higher latitudes. This endless exchange forms the great belts of circulation that govern our skies: the trade winds, the westerlies, and the polar easterlies. The trade winds blow east to west across the tropics, steady and predictable. For centuries, sailors depended on them to cross the oceans, using their rhythm to trace the same paths that clouds and currents followed. Farther north and south, the westerlies sweep in the opposite direction, driving weather systems toward the poles. At the edges of the world, cold polar easterlies drift outward, carrying frozen air into warmer seas. Together, these global winds form the planet's breath, exhaling at the equator, inhaling at the poles, a cycle as ancient as time. But the language of wind does not speak in global terms alone. It also whispers locally in voices that shift from region to region, from dawn to dusk. Along the coasts, the sea breeze awakens each morning as sunlight warms the land more quickly than the ocean. Air rises over the beach and draws in cooler air from the water, carrying the scent of salt and life inland. At night, the pattern reverses. As the land cools faster than the sea, air flows back toward the water, a gentle rhythmic breathing between land and ocean that never ceases. In the mountains, winds take on other names and forms. As the sun heats the slopes during the day, warm air climbs upward, anabatic winds rising through pines and cliffs, bringing the fragrance of earth and resin to the high ridges. When night falls, the same air cools and descends, forming katabatic winds that slide silently down valleys toward the plains. These nocturnal breaths carry the chill of high places and the faint whisper of snowmelt from unseen peaks. Across the world, winds have become part of culture forces, given names and stories, personalities and moods. In the Mediterranean, the mistral sweeps cold and fast through southern France, clearing the skies after storms. In California, the Santa Ana winds rush down from the mountains, hot and dry, turning dust to gold in the afternoon light. In the Pacific Northwest, the Chinook winds, known as the snow eaters, descend from the Rockies, bringing sudden warmth to frozen valleys. In each place, people have learned to read these winds, to anticipate their arrival by the bend of trees or the scent of air before dawn. High above the jet streams, narrow rivers of air, flowing at nearly 200 miles per hour, shape the weather below. They meander between 6 and 9 miles above the surface, tracing sinuous paths around the globe. Airplanes ride their currents to save fuel and time, gliding on the same invisible highways that carry storms from continent to continent. These streams, born from the meeting of warm and cold air masses, shift and wander, with the seasons guiding the great procession of weather systems across the sky. Wind has shaped not only weather, but the course of history. It carried the seeds of plants across continents, spread dust from deserts to oceans, and guided the journeys of explorers long before compasses and satellites. The same air that fills a child's kite today once carried the sails of ships that mapped the world. The language of wind is ancient, and we are still learning to listen. To hear it properly, one must be still. Stand on an open plain and close your eyes. Feel the wind's texture, soft or sharp, cool or heavy, and you'll begin to sense its source. A cold gust might be born in distant mountains. A warm, moist breeze may have crossed hundreds of miles of ocean. Every current tells a story of temperature, terrain, and motion. The world is written in wind. Sometimes, wind speaks with force in gales that bend trees or the sigh of a coming storm. Other times, it speaks with tenderness, a faint movement of air that stirs only the surface of a lake or carries the scent of rain just before it falls. But always it moves toward balance, redistributing energy, bringing change, carrying whispers of faraway places. Even when we cannot feel it, the upper air is alive with motion. Satellites capture patterns invisible from the ground, ribbons of circling dust from the Sahara crossing the Atlantic, bringing nutrients that feed the Amazon. Ash from volcanic eruptions carried thousands of miles across oceans. Pollen seeds, even microscopic life, drifting through the atmosphere like travelers between worlds. Wind connects everything. It is the messenger of weather, the sculptor of landscapes, the unseen hand that shapes dunes, carries clouds, and drives waves. It links continents and seasons in one continuous motion. And though it never stops, it always returns, flowing in endless cycles that echo the planet's own rhythm of breath. When the air quiets, when the wind softens and fades, the world seems to pause. The silence after motion feels sacred, as though the earth itself is resting between breaths. But that stillness is only temporary, a gathering of calm before new patterns begin again. For soon the air will change once more. The sun will shift its warmth, and the balance will tilt toward cold. Moisture will crystallize, clouds will thin, and the world will slip into its quieter season. The wind will grow softer, its language slower, its breath colder. Winter is coming, and with it, a different voice of the sky, the still glittering calm of frost and snow. Yet sometimes, the air slows and cools, settling into quiet stillness, the calm of winter. There comes a moment each year when the world seems to hold its breath. The air grows crisp, the light softens, and the sky turns a quieter shade of blue. The restless energy of wind and rain slows to a hush. This is winter, the season of stillness, when Earth folds inward to rest. In this time, the atmosphere changes character. The same processes that once carried warm air upward now turn toward calm and cold. The sun's light, arriving at a lower angle, spreads thin across the land, casting long shadows that linger over frozen fields. The days shorten, and the energy that once drove great clouds to tower above the horizon now settles into tranquility. The world exhales and cools. Within this cold calm, the science of winter reveals its quiet beauty. When the temperature drops below, freezing water transforms, rearranging itself into patterns of astonishing perfection. A single snowflake begins as a speck of dust or pollen suspended in the upper air. Around it, water vapor condenses, freezing into a crystal of ice. As more molecules join, the crystal grows outward, each branch mirroring the next with flawless symmetry. No two snowflakes are exactly alike. The temperature and humidity of their journey shape each one differently, sculpting unique geometry from the same simple elements. Snow is more than frozen water. It is architecture in motion. Under a microscope, flakes appear as delicate hexagons, stars or needles, crystalline masterpieces that drift for miles before settling to the ground. Together they form blankets that quiet the world's muting sound, softening light. The reason winter feels so still is partly physical. Snow absorbs and scatters sound, turning even the loudest landscape into a sanctuary of silence. The snow that falls builds layers over time, each one recording the conditions of its creation. Light snow rests gently atop heavier layers, compacting into fern. Then glacial ice. In the mountains and poles, this process captures centuries of atmospheric memory, trapping tiny bubbles of air that tell scientists the story of ancient climates. Through these frozen archives, we learn how the atmosphere has changed, how Earth has breathed across ages of warmth and cold. On cold mornings, frost paints its own art upon the Earth. Thin films of ice spread across windows and leaves, growing outward in patterns that resemble feathers or ferns. This frost forms when the air's moisture condenses directly into solid ice on a surface colder than freezing. Each pattern is shaped by minute variations in humidity, temperature, and airflow. Nature's handwriting in crystal form. Sometimes, frost grows into hoarfrost, long, delicate needles that form on branches, fences, and blades of grass. Under moonlight, these crystals sparkle like powdered stars, transforming even the humblest landscape into something ethereal. If the air remains very cold, and moist fog itself may freeze into tiny ice droplets drifting as a luminous haze. Such frozen fog, rare and mesmerizing, wraps the world in a quiet shimmer. Snow does more than blanket the Earth in beauty. It also regulates the planet's temperature. Bright and reflective, it bounces much of the sun's energy back into space, maintaining a delicate balance that cools the atmosphere. This reflective property, called albedo, helps keep the polar regions frozen and the global climate stable. Without it, Earth would absorb far more heat, and the rhythms of weather would change dramatically. Even in dormancy, life persists. Beneath the snow roots still breathe seeds wait, and animals rest in hibernation. A layer of snow acts as insulation, trapping warmth and allowing the soil to remain alive. Under its quiet surface, the slow machinery of life continues, patient and hidden. The wind of winter is not the same as summer's restless air. It moves softly, carrying fine crystals that sparkle in sunlight. Each gust seems to whisper rather than roar. In the far north, blizzards sweep the tundra, sculpting snow into waves and ridges that catch the pink glow of low horizons. In temperate lands, snow flurries drift through city lights, like floating embers, and the world feels both immense and intimate, a hush shared by all living things. When snow finally melts, it releases the water that sustains the coming spring. The frozen becomes fluid once again, seeping into rivers, nourishing fields, and awakening seeds. The cycle renews itself, as it always has warmth, returning to dissolve the memory of cold. Yet for a moment, winter's calm lingers, reminding us that rest is as vital as motion, silence as necessary as song. From a scientific view, winter is not merely an absence of heat, but a rebalancing, a turning inward of energy, a pause in the planet's breath. From a poetic view, it is a time of reflection, when even the light seems to slow, inviting us to listen. And when the sun sets early and frost glows beneath starlight, we may sense something deeper, the earth itself, dreaming its pulse steady beneath the snow. Soon this stillness will lift. The air will grow warmer, mist will return to valleys, and the voice of the atmosphere will soften once more into vapor and light. The silence will give way to whispers of fog and dew, to mornings where the sky blurs into the horizon and the air seems to hover between waking and sleep. Now the winds have quieted. The clouds have faded. The planet exhales softly beneath the calm of night. What once moved with energy now rests in stillness, and within that stillness, balance returns. The same air that carries the scent of rain also carries your breath, connecting you to oceans, forests, and stars. You have always been part of this rhythm, the circle of warmth and calm, of motion and peace. Look upward once more, and imagine the sky continuing beyond sight, a thin veil of air, holding everything that lives glowing faintly against the infinite dark. Though you cannot see it, it's there, steady, kind, eternal. The atmosphere hums, gently wrapping the earth in sleep. As you drift toward rest, let your mind wander with it. Let curiosity soften into wonder, and wonder dissolve into quiet. The earth is breathing. You are breathing. And all is well. If you enjoy journeys like this, feel free to stay a while. There are always more quiet wonders waiting in the stars.